Welcome into Nightly Scroll. I'm Hayley Caronia. Welcome to the show. If you're watching on X or on Facebook right now, hello and welcome. You might be watching here for the first time, but come on over to Rumble, rumble.com/Hayley's, where you can watch Nightly Scroll in full. And of course, the best part is you can scroll with all my homies in the chat. I absolutely love all you guys, so I'm happy to be here tonight and to get started on the show. Unfortunately, we've got some new details about that 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid on Donald Trump's residence. They went through Melania Trump's underwear drawer, and we're going to get into all of those details on this episode of Nightly Scroll. Everyone clap for Justin, who put that together. We're in the holiday spirit. And Jasmine and Andy put together some of these Christmas trees. I know you can only see one behind me, but we are in the spirit. It's officially the week before Christmas. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling jolly. So now we're going to get upset because now we're going from the highs of the Christmas season to the lows of the Biden administration DOJ. So let's get into it. This is what Chuck Grassley put out on X earlier today, saying that he had gotten some exclusive information from the DOJ and the FBI. They delivered this information to members of Congress. And they say this: the FBI, under President Joe Biden, did not believe it had probable cause to raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, but Biden DOJ pushed for it anyway. Based on the records, the Mar-a-Lago raid was a miscarriage of justice. And he posts the information below so people can read it themselves. It is a little long to get into, but here's what we need to discuss. Because we already knew this, right? If you watch this show, if you've been watching the Dan Bongino show and many others, you know that the Biden DOJ was absolutely corrupt. They were corrupt. They went after their political enemies at every turn, and their mission was not to bring justice. Their mission wasn't to enforce the law. It was to get Trump. That was the only tenet of the Joe Biden DOJ. Get Trump. And not to mention the DOJ under the Obama administration as well, as we know. So basically, when a Democrat is in charge, all the swamp creatures in the DOJ, the CIA, all these three-letter agencies, they come out and they just try to get Trump or do whatever bidding they deemed necessary. And in 2022, the Biden DOJ deemed it necessary to raid Melania Trump's underwear drawer and conduct a pre-dawn raid on Mar-a-Lago. President Trump has had much different treatment by the DOJ than any other president, and that is clear. And now, we all knew that there was no reason for this, right? And we could all see the mistreatment of President Trump. We could all see that he was being treated much differently than anyone else in history, right? There was a target on his back from day one, and they were going to do anything that they could, whether it was within their power or not, to get him. And the most embarrassing part, too, is that they pull out all the stops, right? And they haven't got him. They still haven't got him. So they ruin their careers. The American people don't trust the government anymore. And what do they have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. They look like total losers. And it's just, it gets me angry because it's not just the DOJ going after President Trump. President Trump famously said, "They're not after me, they're after you, and I'm just in the way." And that is so true because the Biden DOJ, of course, their main priority was getting Trump. We know that. But they also wanted to get me, you, everyone who supported Donald Trump. They threw January 6ers in jail. And of course, they turn a blind eye when their protesters, burn down cities. And they threw pro-life protesters in jail, people who were elderly people who were standing outside of a Planned Parenthood, an abortion clinic. They threw them in jail, literally sitting in a jail cell. That was the Biden DOJ. The Biden DOJ put out a memo. Attorney General Merrick Garland put out a memo saying that concerned parents at school board meetings were domestic terrorists. So when President Trump said, they're not after me, they're after you, and I'm just in the way, they proved that they were after literally anyone who supported Trump in any way, shape, or form. They were after Trump, and they were after all of us. And maybe we weren't at January 6th, or maybe we weren't outside of the Planned Parenthood that day. But the point is, it could have been us. It could have been me. It could have been any of you in the chat, any of you watching. That's the scary part. So now we know for sure that the Biden administration, they threw out all the processes that they're supposed to go through, and they did whatever they felt that they wanted to do. It was their mission to get Trump, and they tried, and they failed. It's just absolutely sick. Also absolutely sick, by the way, is this Vanity Fair expose that they put out on the Trump cabinet. And specifically, Susie Wiles was a target in this piece. And here's the headline: Susie Wiles talks Epstein files, Pete Hegseth's war tactics, retribution, and more. This is just part 2 of this massive article. And this was done by Vanity Fair writer Chris Whipple. And the photography, which we're going to get into in depth, is Christopher Anderson. And I took it upon myself, because once I saw these pictures that we're going to get into, I took it upon myself to look up some of Christopher Anderson's work. And let me just tell you that what he did with the Trump cabinet members and people in Trump's inner circle is much different than what he does to other people when he takes their photos. So it's pretty obvious where he stands on the political aisle. And it seems like this was a very personal, hit job for him. He wanted to make the members of the Trump administration look very bad. And he did. He made them look very bad. And the thing that I found interesting is Vanity Fair, they put this thing out, and Chris Whipple admits that this is a very transparent administration. I mean, he literally said, Susie answered almost every single question I asked of her, and he admitted that that is not normal. That is not typical of an administration. Normally, they give you the runaround. They just say, they make excuses like, well, I can't really ask you that, or I'll just give you the background information, but I can't really give you specifics. And he said, Susie Wiles is pretty transparent. So that's how it should be done, by the way, and that's what the Trump administration ran on. The Trump administration could teach a masterclass in transparency, and the media will still hate them. The administration gives the media more access than the media knows what to do with, and more than the media deserves. Remember when the mainstream media was able to take a breath? After Trump left office in 2021, they welcomed this new era of so-called normalcy with a boring president. They welcomed a boring president. Well, they got that. They got a boring president in Joe Biden that would turn his back to podiums, and he only answered hand-picked questions with pre-written talking points from who knows who. But it wasn't the president. We know that Joe Biden wasn't taking questions off the top of his head, or taking questions on Air Force One, or taking questions when he was getting off of Marine One, or walking across the White House lawn, or just running up to, members of the press because he can. That wasn't President Joe Biden. That's what we see with President Trump. So now it's Trump 2.0, and the media gets access to the cabinet once again. And this is how they choose to display President Trump's inner circle. I just want to show you what these photos looked like. So if we could scroll down here, the first one, it's all these ugly, horribly lit black and white photos of members of the cabinet. You see Stephen Miller on the left. You see Marco Rubio up front. I think J.D. Vance is in the back there. But you see these very, very up close portraits of the members of the cabinet. If you could scroll down just a little bit, you could see the first one there. This is the cover photo, right? Exclusive. Trump's inner circle on the record. And that's not bad, right? That's Caroline Leavitt sitting on the table, and you've got Vice President J.D. Vance sitting there, and you've got Secretary Marco Rubio, and it looks nice, right? That's where it takes a turn, because you click into these, and if we could just scroll back up, the photo of Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, you click on the way that we have it right now is not even as close. If you pull it up on your phone, it's insane. You could see every little line, everything. You could see, I mean, there's no need for this. There's no need for this. Vice President Vance, why would you do him like that? Caroline Leavitt, you could see, everywhere where her makeup's settling. I mean, it's just so poorly done and obviously intentional. And then if you wouldn't mind pulling up Christopher Anderson's Instagram, there's a link there, and it's shocking the difference between how he painted the members of Trump's cabinet versus how he photographs other celebrities like model Gigi Hadid, who famously made fun of Melania Trump's accent. You might remember that from, I think it was the Oscars one year. So again, when he is photographing his liberal friends, scroll down a little bit, they look well lit. Nothing is so close where you can see the dirt in their pores. Everyone looks nice. These are not in his style. You know what I mean? You could just see the difference there. So we can all infer how Vanity Fair feels about Trump and people who work for Trump by the looks of these photos. It's not a surprise. And then people were pointing this out on X, that there's a massive difference, not in the way necessarily about how he shoots his celebrity friends, but how this Vanity Fair, how they portray other administrations. Here's a photo or a side-by-side of, again, the close-up that they decided to put out of Caroline Leavitt and the nicer photo that they put out further away of Karine Jean-Pierre, Biden's press secretary. I mean, you look at the composition of those two photos, it's pretty clear that one is favorable and one is not. But what is the purpose, aside from being just plain mean, to zoom in this close on someone's face? It is a deliberate choice to be mean. And we get it. You're exposing the Trump cabinet. But we don't need to see the dirt in their pores. Okay? We don't need to see where their makeup is settling. We don't need to see every fine line and wrinkle. It's ridiculous. And, after years of Republicans saying, it's such a shame that Republicans aren't featured in magazines anymore. Vanity Fair, Vogue, they don't celebrate First Lady Melania Trump in the way that they celebrate AOC and Kamala Harris and Dr. Jill and Michelle Obama and whoever else. And then it's like, after years and years of us saying this stuff, like, they don't highlight Republicans. They're like, here, damn. Here, fine. We did a piece on Republicans. Don't ask us to do it again. That's what I feel like this is. Fine. We're supposed to do both sides. Fine. They've been complaining that we haven't been covering them. Fine, we'll do it. We'll make them look like shit so that they never ask us to do it ever again. This is like weaponized incompetence. You do ask someone to do something, they do it so badly that you never ask them again. That's what we're seeing here. Weaponized incompetence from Vanity Fair. Because now people aren't going to want to pick up the phone when Vanity Fair calls them, right? If they're on the Republican side. And honestly, Vanity Fair probably doesn't want that. They don't want Republicans. They don't want to feature them or highlight them or paint them in a even fair look. This is Vanity unfair. But aside from making everyone look ugly, they painted the White House to be utter chaos under Trump's leadership and under Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. And even White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke to reporters earlier today dispelling these rumors. But this is what Chief of Staff Susie Wiles responded. And honestly, we don't hear much from Susie. She stays in the background for the most part, but she said, the article published earlier this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume, after reading it, that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. The truth is, the Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years, and that is due to the unmatched leadership and vision of President Trump, for whom I have been honored to work for the better part of a decade. None of this will stop our relentless pursuit of making America great again. End of her post there. And honestly, someone in the chat just said, never seen a more organized White House. And I was just going to say, I think President Trump learned his lesson right? After the first administration, there was a lot of turnover. There were people that he couldn't trust. And I think when President Trump got back in the Oval Office this time, he thought, I'm going to put together a team that is airtight. I'm putting together a team that is going to work well together, that I can trust, people that I know are going to do their jobs, people that I know aren't going to, commit crimes. People aren't going to attack people for no reason, just on the basis of, being our political enemy or what have you. I mean, this is a group of people that is trustworthy for once. And I think President Trump knew that if he got a second chance at getting back in the White House, he was going to do it right this time. And I think he has. And I thought it was interesting because Susie Wiles posted that on X and people were responding to that post. She was getting pushback from people in conservative media, by the way, saying that she shouldn't have done the interviews with Vanity Fair anyway. They should have known that they're anti-Trump. They should have known that they were going to do a hit piece. Like, why give them any ammo? And I get that. But I think most people in the media have an opportunity to turn down interviews. Like those people commenting, they don't have to do interviews when they're asked. Personally, I get requests to do interviews, and I can tell based on the outlet whether it's going to be friendly or when it isn't, and I can make decisions accordingly. I don't have to answer, right? And when you're in the government and you're supposed to be a public figure and you're supposed to be in an administration that runs on being transparent, I can understand why they sat down for this. I can understand why Susie Wiles took all of their phone calls and answered all of their questions. They ran on this. The American people voted for this. So I don't really understand the pile on them for doing the interview and not a pile on Vanity Fair in being petty and rude. We expect Vanity Fair to be, unprofessional and biased, but we should expect them to do better and hold them to a higher standard. And that's probably what the Trump cabinet was trying to do here. But I want to get into some more lies. They're not just coming from the media, but also from sitting lawmakers like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar herself. She is peddling the lie that her son was targeted and pulled over by ICE. This was her over the weekend on one of the Sunday shows, saying that her son was pulled over, and this is what happened. Watch.
At a Target, he did get pulled over by ICE agents, and once he was able to produce his passport ID, they did let him go.
So your son went to Target last night with his passport.
He always carries it with him.
In case he gets pulled over.
Yes.
Which he did by ICE.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know what, am I supposed to feel bad? Am I supposed to feel bad that he has to carry identification around? Don't we all do that? So for the sake of my next argument, let's assume that Ilhan Omar is telling the truth here and her son was unfairly pulled over by ICE and he was targeted. Okay. So Ilhan Omar claims that his son was pulled over by ICE agents and he was let go after showing his passport. ICE says that they have no record of this whatsoever. But let's just say that it's true. He proved that he was a citizen and went on with his day. Am I supposed to feel bad? You want me to take out my little tiny violin and start playing it for her and for him? I've gotten pulled over by police before. And guess what? They ask me to show my ID. And then I do. And then I get let go. So welcome to the club. All American citizens have to carry ID on them. And when they don't, you might get into some trouble. And when you lose your ID, you might carry your passport. But most American citizens, by the way, don't need to carry their passports, right? I mean, the only time that I use my passport is when I don't have my ID, or I lost my ID, or I'm getting a new one, or they give you that like paper interim one, right? Okay, let me have an official one on me. Or when I'm traveling internationally. That's the only time I, as an American citizen, have my passport on me. And most of the time it's, oh my gosh, where is it? And I'm looking for it 8 hours before my international flight. Where did I put it? That's probably the experience of most American citizens. No one who's an American citizen or a legal immigrant has to worry about walking around with their passport. I just don't believe that. I mean, we all have to walk around with our ID. But this is, she even said his passport ID. So I wonder if maybe she's just like flubbing it. And we do have confirmation from ICE that she is flubbing, right? But I think she's, what's the word? Like, yes. Like she's embellishing the story so that it makes it sound worse. But we all have to have our ID on us. We just do. So then acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, he did his due diligence. He checked with ICE. Hey guys, did anyone pull over Ilhan Omar's son? No. Then he checked with local law enforcement partners. Hey, just making sure, did anyone pull over Ilhan Omar's son? Also no. So Todd Lyons, he put out a statement. He said this to multiple news sources, but he said ICE has absolutely zero record of its officers or agents pulling over Congresswoman Omar's son. It speaks volumes that the Congresswoman Omar is leveling this accusation with absolutely zero proof. This ridiculous effort to unfairly demonize our law enforcement officers is directly contributing to the more than 1,150% increase in assaults and 8,000% increase in death threats against my officers and agents. Allegations that ICE engages in racial profiling are disgusting, reckless, and categorically false. A person's immigration status makes them a target for enforcement, not their skin color, race, or ethnicity. Law enforcement uses reasonable suspicion to make arrests, as allowed under the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution. And again, this kid wasn't stopped, apparently, according to law enforcement, but even if he wasn't arrested. And people get targeted all the time for different reasons. That doesn't mean he was targeted because of what he looks like. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And maybe she's lying because she's deflecting from her own involvement in this whole Minneapolis, Minnesota Somali immigrant fraud scheme. Maybe because she filmed a campaign video and promoted one of the restaurants that was complicit. They were supposed to provide like 91 million meals for people in need, and they ended up taking $250,000 from the government and just using it to fund their lavish lifestyles. They never actually fed the people that they were claiming that they were going to feed. So not only did she promote that business, but she also held her campaign party there. And she also passed the legislation that laid the groundwork for all this fraud to occur. You know, when a light gets starting to be shown on the Democrats, what do? They blame Trump, or they lie, or they do both at the same time. Like, those are their reactions. So maybe she's so quick to blame Trump because she's using this story that she's completely fabricated, by the way, as a deflection from her own unfortunate ties to the Somali COVID fraud schemes. And those restaurant owners were indicted. It's just insane that she would not only promote that restaurant, and who knows, did she know that they were part of this fraud scheme? We don't know. But she's going to continue to malign the Trump administration to take the heat off of a group of fraudsters, heat that they deserve, by the way. But she wants us to believe that, oh, it's Trump's fault and the Somali community is being unfairly targeted, and for us to believe that we would have to ignore the facts. Thankfully, though, President Trump has appointed a special strike team to investigate this. Here is Secretary of Labor. She's on the Ruthless podcast earlier today. This is Lori Chavez de Remer. And this is what she said to the Ruthless pod. Watch.
Where else is the fraudulent behavior happening? Because the American people don't deserve this. The American people who believe their dollars are going for one specific reason, and that's to keep that trust fund whole and spend the dollars where they're needed and not where they're taken advantage of. And you know, we've uncovered a lot of those, and now we'll continue. And we've had these strike teams go out, and they're you know, DOL employees. We'll work with our regional offices to deploy that. But the president has been clear: fraudulence has no place in any government, and that goes from the local all the way up. But at the federal level, organized crime happens, and we're have the enforcement capabilities to take care of that, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So,
well, this is what I voted for. How about all of you in the chat? How about you guys? I voted for this. I voted to root out government corruption. I voted to drain the swamp. I voted to find out where our tax dollars are going, specifically, you know, the billions that went to Ukraine and wherever else, to make sure that they're not funding, you know, fraud in Minneapolis. I mean, this is the bare minimum. American taxpayers deserve that much, at the very least. And we're finally getting it instead of being ripped off. All right, taking a quick break to tell you about our sponsors for tonight's show. First up is Blackout Coffee. Let's talk about real convenience without sacrificing quality. You already know I'm a huge fan of Blackout. If you're like me and you need that caffeine fix fast in the morning or the afternoon or the evening, their coffee pods are a total game changer. These aren't your average grocery store pods. Blackout pods are packed with fresh roasted bold coffee made right here in Florida. So they work with those single serve pod brewers. It is fast, easy, and actually delicious. I love them. I love all the flavors that they have. I've tried a few of them now, and they're all great. Even the blueberry, they've got a blueberry cold brew that, you think, oh, would I like that? You would like it. Very good. They've got holiday flavors, so go to their website to check them out. They're not bitter. They are not stale. And again, you could just pop all these flavors in. They've got them in the form of these coffee pods. Boom, you've got a strong, smooth cup of coffee in just seconds. So if you're racing out the door, jumping into back-to-back calls, this is your new morning lifesaver. And the best part is they ship nationwide. So no matter where you live, you can have Florida fresh coffee at your door in just days. Head to blackoutcoffee.com/scroll or use code SCROLL at checkout for 20% off your first order. I also want to tell you about Mint Mobile. I'm not going to let big wireless and my overpriced phone bill suck the joy out of the holidays this year. Because right now, all of Mint Mobile's unlimited plans are 50% off. I can get 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. It is their best deal of the year, and it makes it really easy for me to give my expensive wireless bill the Scrooge treatment. Mint Mobile's best deal of the year is happening right now. Again, you could get 3, 6, or 12 months unlimited plan for $15 a month. All Mint Mobile plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. You can bring your current phone and your number over to Mint, so you don't have to change your number or anything like that. You can keep everything the same, except you could switch to a great service provider. No contracts, no nonsense. Mint Mobile is top-notch quality, and I know you will love it just as much as I do. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/scroll. That is mintmobile.com/scroll. Limited time offer until February 4th, 2026. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months is required. Taxes and fees are extra. Initial plan term only. May slow down when the network is busy. Capable device availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. All right, well, yesterday we showed you the images provided by the FBI last night of the suspected killer in the Boston University shootings of 2 students. And apparently he is 5'8", he is stocky, he was wearing a black beanie, black face mask, a color-blocked dark jacket, maybe black and olive green jacket, black pants, and shoes. And what you're looking at right now is updated footage from what we showed you yesterday. And this is from FBI's Boston field office. They released this earlier today, and they're hoping that as we head into day 4 of this manhunt, this footage can help people in the area help identify this man. Although I'm sure the guy is wearing something else by now. And if you watched Monday's episode with Scott Bryson, he explained that, the further that they get into this manhunt day by day, it's going to be harder for them to find him because, gives them more time to get away. But I'm hoping that this is good footage. The first footage that came out, I thought, how the heck is anyone going to be able to identify this guy? It was blurry, it was far away, it was dark, but this is much clearer. And, you can see, if this was someone that I personally knew and you knew that their jacket looked like that or their hat looked like that or they walked like that, this could be a total game changer. So I'm hoping that this really does help nab this guy. Absolutely. We need justice. And in the meantime, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, she put this on X saying that she had directed all the flags to be flown at half staff in Alabama until sunset on Friday, December 19th this week in memory of Ella Cook, one of the victims in this killing, senseless killing. She was the vice president of the Young Republicans Club there on campus at Brown University, and she's from Alabama. So Governor Kay Ivey in Alabama says that all of Alabama wraps her arms around Ella's family in prayer, and she joins in mourning her loss. So very sad there, but hopefully some positive updates after this new footage comes out. Also, quick update on the Reiner murders. Rob and Michelle Reiner were stabbed by allegedly by their son, of course, innocent until proven guilty. But they were both found dead in their LA home over the weekend. And their 32-year-old son was taken into custody and booked on murder charges. It's now believed that this escalated from an argument that started at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party the night before the murders, which apparently stemmed from Nick Reiner's using drugs again. And he had struggled with drug use in the past and potentially on drugs again. And this is what prompted them to have kind of this heated argument that, again, carried into the next day when he decided to stab both of his parents. And he was due to be arraigned earlier this morning, but his lawyer, Alan Jackson, told reporters that he had not been medically cleared for transport to the courthouse. So I'm not sure what that means necessarily. If he's not been medically cleared, I don't know if maybe he was injured in whatever tussle happened the night that he killed his parents, but we will bring you the details when we get them. Also wanted to cover the infamous meeting of Erica Kirk and Candace Owens that happened yesterday. So I just wanted to give a disclaimer before I get into this because I haven't really covered this much. Someone had asked me what my thoughts were on, this conservative influencer podcaster beef. And I answered this, maybe it was over a month ago now. And I don't love to get involved in this because I have my own show to produce and host daily, and on the weekends, I try to touch grass, I try to see friends, I try to read books, get off my phone a little bit, I try to go to church, I try to catch up on chores. I do not listen to as much conservative media as you think I would. I genuinely try to escape it when I'm not working on my own show, although I do try to stay abreast of what's going on. So when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I watched a few episodes of Candace because, of course, they're very close friends, and everyone wanted to know what Candace was saying. I mean, Candace was a huge part of TPUSA. They were very close. Blexit was part of TPUSA. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I mean, she was one of the first people that I thought of, honestly. And I think we all felt that way. I mean, oh my goodness, this is one of her closest friends that's been shot in front of the entire world. And I haven't watched all of the episodes. I'm not sure what she's saying now or recently, but I've only heard what other people are saying, that it's kind of gone off the rails since then. So I want to be upfront with you that I can't give you a completely educated opinion on the topic because I'm only hearing what she's saying through other people, right? But I've heard that there's, Egyptian planes following Erica Kirk, among other things. But she did say in the beginning, and I heard her in this episode say that the only two people who could get her to stop covering this are her own husband or Erica Kirk. And Erica Kirk told conspiracy theorists to stop spreading lies. And apparently, TPUSA and Candace had agreed to do a live stream that they could kind of hash this stuff out because Candace had launched attacks at TPUSA, claiming that they were somehow involved in this with cameras and SD cards and all this stuff, right? And she claimed that people closest to Charlie didn't care nearly as much as she cared about getting to the bottom of this. I can assure you, people who know and loved Charlie Kirk want the answers to this, right? But it was like, she's the only person that cares about this. So they agreed to do this live stream, and then that never ended up happening. And then that brings us to yesterday when Erica Kirk sat down with Candace Owens in a closed-door private meeting that allegedly lasted 4.5 hours, according to Candace. Candace put out a tweet. She also put out a video on X, basically explaining that this was like a 4.5 hour meeting and she was going to get into it basically tomorrow, as in today. So she said, I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow, as I am currently exhausted, but I wanted to let you all guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed, which is good. Now, I wish that I was a fly on the wall of this meeting, and I'm sure most of you feel the same way because, I get that it's closed door, and, if they can discuss the details of the meeting publicly afterwards, Erica Kirk might go on Fox or Turning Point, right? Her husband's radio show, or, Candace will do it on her show as she did today. So then we're getting like potentially two sides of the story. And I don't blame them for wanting to do this in private. I don't think anyone should have been, making money or clicks off of this conversation, although the night is young and, Candace did her live stream. Now, I was prepping for this show, so I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did catch clips of it, and I had Justin, thankfully, watch the thing for me. So this is what, this is my take, right? Candace is clearly not afraid to stand up to foreign governments. She's not afraid of a lawsuit. And whether or not you believe in what she's saying, Candace Owens owns what she says. And according to Justin, because I didn't watch the whole thing, but she did double down on everything. She claims to have receipts, as she always does. She claims to have sources at CBS. She had claims to have sources in the town hall audience that claimed that the questions that Erica Kirk was answering were scripted and that she knew of them ahead of time. Now, I can tell you from my experience working as a producer in this industry, I have produced town halls at multiple networks. The questions are scripted. That's what happens. No network on the face of the planet is going to have a live audience and hand some rando a microphone and be like, have at it. Literally no network ever. So I'm just explaining to people who might not understand how this works. But when you have your editorial on the line, you have your reputation on the line, you are vetting those questions. I personally used to vet questions for town halls because you can't just have people ask crazy shit and not know. Why would you put yourself or your network in that position? So again, that's a crazy thing. Of course, the questions are scripted. Now, whether or not Erica Kirk should have gotten those questions ahead of time, I would say no. But Candace claims that Erica's media appearances have been scripted. She has not given authentic takes yet. Do I believe that? I don't know. Justin was also telling me that she uses this tactic, and I've experienced this too when watching her show, where it's like, do you agree on this statement? Do we agree on this? Okay, therefore, I'm not lying to you, right? Therefore, if we agree on this, if you agree that we don't know everything about Charlie Kirk's murder, then believe me when I tell you XYZ. And basically, that's how she gets her audience in, right? We're building trust. I feel like the government's lying. You feel like the government's lying. We're in this together. And that formula works, right? It works because hosts and their audiences have to have a level of trust. And this is her strategy.
Just to be clear, I guess I'm seeing a little bit of confusion in the chat. This was the reaction to Candace's show about Erica's town hall with CBS. Right, she's currently live with her show on Erica's on her and Erica's private conversation.
Interesting. So it's live right now.
It's live right now.
I'm looking too because I have it up and she has like super chats and everyone's going crazy in the chat. And some people were saying, like, Candace, you sold out. Like, her followers are now saying that they don't believe Candace because Candace said, the only two people that can get me to shut up is my husband and Erica Kirk. So then her people who are watching Candace religiously are feeling like, well, you better not switch up, because if you switch up based on this conversation with Erica Kirk, then that means that, whoever they is, got you, right? Like, they have tainted you. They have told you to shut up, something like that. So some people, and the chat is going so freaking fast because I'm sure there's a bajillion people. There's 301,000 people watching right now live. So people are calling her a sellout. Again, I can't watch it and host the show at the same time, so maybe we'll do a further breakdown tomorrow. But, this is kind of like, you kind of have to wait and see what happens. I answer questions on my Instagram story usually once a week, and someone asked me recently about this situation, whether I was pro or anti Candace, and I'm neither. I'm not necessarily pro Candace, although I've watched her show and I like her. I think she's funny. I think she's talented. I think she's smart, but I'm not, anti Candace in any way. I'm pro truth. And I think everyone wants to know the truth about what happened to Charlie. Everyone wants to know all the details about the investigation, and everything will come out. And my take is Candace's reporting will either hold up or not. And that was my take, which is not controversial at all, right? Because that is just the truth, right? At some point, we're going to see this trial play out. We're going to see evidence that we haven't seen before. And, Candace is arguing that, or Erica Kirk, rather, said that, these conspiracy theories, she doesn't want them tainting a jury pool, which is completely valid. And Candace said that, she doesn't want to taint the jury pool. She claims that she's not tainting the jury pool. And then she doesn't give credit to the government, who is actually the ones gatekeeping the information that could potentially taint the jury pool. So again, and I love conspiracy theories. I have a tinfoil hat segment on this show. And I firmly believe that conspiracies are born out of a lack of transparency, right? And Candace is right. We don't know everything yet. And that is how conspiracy theories start, right? And you can have good intentions in that, running down every theory, right? Because during COVID-19, conspiracy theorists were undefeated, right? The government would tell us one thing, it was the opposite. That's just what was happening, right? And here's what we know as of now. A man has been charged with the murder of Charlie Kirk. We're going to watch the trial play out. There's going to be evidence presented that the public hasn't seen yet. The truth will come out. I have full faith that the justice will be served. I have no doubt that law enforcement, especially under the Trump administration, are dedicated to seeking justice for Charlie. And Erica Kirk has said, I don't want a tainted jury pool. That is how we get justice. And when we do find out the truth, Candace's reporting will either hold up or it won't. That's it. That is it. And I think the saddest part of all of this, and this just goes back to the conspiracy thing, I place blame on the Biden administration. I place blame on the deep state. The American people have trust issues. They don't trust any institutions anymore. They'll never be able to fully trust the government ever again, and I don't blame them. They don't trust any three-letter agencies. Thanks to AI, nobody trusts their own eyes anymore. Conspiracy theories, they were running rampant during COVID. And remember, people used to say the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months' time. But that doesn't mean that every conspiracy theory is true. I think there's truth in every theory, but that doesn't mean that the whole thing is true. Does that make sense? But now everyone wants to believe what they want to believe. And the problem with the internet is that you can find something on the internet or someone to affirm your every thought and belief. The sky is blue, right? But I could go on Google and find that the sky is purple because sometimes it is. And
I find a whole community of people who think the earth is flat.
Very true. But my point is that even like something like that, you can think that the sky is blue. I can think that it's purple. Both of those things are true. So people just argue all day long because everyone's right. That's the problem. So now nobody can decipher what is true, what isn't. And that's the kind of distrust that has people running into the arms of new media voices, like Candace, like Tucker, like Ben Shapiro, like Megyn Kelly, even smaller ones like me. And people gravitate to the personalities that they like and they trust. And that is a big responsibility. And I think everyone in the new media knows that. It's not something that we take lightly. Bigger networks, they have more resources, they have more producers, they have more fact checkers, they have bigger tech teams, they have everything that we don't. And people who go out on their own are doing it for the love of the game. Not because it's easier to go out and do your own podcast, but because the American people have been failed by big media, big tech, and other big institutions, and this is why the new media exists in the first place. And if Candace ends up being right about everything and everything checks out, good on her. And if she's wrong, all we can ask for her is to issue corrections, apologize to our audience, but we just have to wait and see. Now, on the issue of Charlie Kirk, he has an amazing legacy. His legacy is that of young people hating big government, teaching young people to work hard, teaching young people to think for themselves, teaching young people to reach across the aisle and have conversations that might be difficult, might be hard, they might not want to do. That is Charlie Kirk's legacy. And that's just like a little bit of it, right? I mean, think of all the people that Charlie Kirk has impacted, young and old. And we think of the impact that Charlie Kirk has mostly on young people because he's on all these college campuses and he's debating all the liberals and everything like that. And that's what he's known for, and all the videos that have gone viral and everything. I mean, we're so lucky that all of these debates were on camera and that he had a podcast and all these things so that we kind of have Charlie Kirk immortalized in a way. And I think what we don't really know and we don't see a lot is just how many people Charlie Kirk touched and the different kinds of people that Charlie Kirk touched. And this video went viral of a woman working at Target, and she's an older woman, but she was wearing a red Charlie Kirk shirt to work, and she got harassed for that. Watch.
Why?
They let you wear that shirt here?
Yes.
So
Why? Why are you taking my picture?
why are you wearing that shirt? You're working. It's not
It's
a
a
Target
red
shirt.
shirt. I can wear any red shirt.
It's not a plain shirt.
It doesn't have to be
It's a Charlie Kirk shirt.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Are you fucking stupid?
No.
Why the fuck would you wear that? You're at work at Target. That's not a Target shirt. It's not a plain red shirt.
We
You
don't.
support a racist.
It's not racist.
You support a racist.
He's not a racist.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he fucking is.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you.
You're not. You should go
over
get
it.
your manager. You should not be allowed to wear that at work. Unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable.
That's your opinion.
No,
ma'am.
the opinion is he's a fucking racist and you support him.
That's your opinion, ma'am. Have
And
a
you
nice
shouldn't.
day.
You should not be allowed to wear that. This
Have
is
a
going
nice-
to be taken above your fucking head. That's insane.
Have a
Insane.
nice day.
In fucking insane. Piece of shit.
So this woman that posted this video has now put her account private, so you can't see these videos anymore. But here's what I want to say. Anytime you see a video go viral of a Turning Point USA student or a table or a supporter getting harassed, they're always kind. They're always kind. This woman is being harassed, and she's saying, "Have a nice day." That's another part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. And I think he'd be really proud to know that people who supported him are nice and kind. But what I want to say to this disgusting woman who posted this video and harassed this elderly woman, put your phone down. I'm saying this as someone, the host of Nightly Scroll, with a screen time of 16 hours a day. Put your phone down and touch grass. The fact that people have their phones at the ready to get people. They're out to get people with their phones. It is exhausting to watch. I'm going to start a fight with so-and-so, and I'm going to film it, and I'm going to put it on social media, and then I'm going to get validation in the forms of likes, clicks, because I think that the internet will agree with me. That is people's mentality in 2025. No one has ever de-escalated a situation by pulling their phone out to start filming it. And everyone knows my golden rule by now. Sit down and shut up. Not everyone needs to know your opinion. Not everyone cares. And I know we all have platforms to a bajillion people in our pockets, but we live on a floating rock and none of this matters. Stop trying to cancel people. It's lame. It's embarrassing. Get a life. And this elderly woman who is still working, by the way, leave her alone. If you disagree with her politically, who cares? You don't know this woman. You don't need to change everyone's minds. You don't need to call her a piece of shit. You don't need to call her manager. You don't have to get her fired or anything like that. The woman filming went viral. She got what she wanted, but she looks like an absolute loser picking a fight with an older woman. Clearly, the woman's manager didn't care. Clearly, she came into work. She knows the rules working at Target. She says, as long as I wear a red shirt, doesn't matter. So to this woman filming, go get what you need from Target, go check out and go home. Not everything needs to be a viral moment. Go home, find some other way to be content with your life. But people have totally lost their grip with reality. No one knows how to act in public anymore. Nobody knows how to interact with people. Be kind and keep your phone in your pocket. It's not that freaking hard. It's just not.
That made me mad when I cut that video.
Yeah.
And now it just makes me really sad. Anybody that's worked a point of sale or worked retail like that, I mean, like it's a difficult job because of people like that. And the word on the woman's shirt gives
Freedom.
that lady the opportunity to say that. And it's just ironic and sad, and people need to be better.
And to your point, Charlie Kirk stood for open dialogue, but kind dialogue and respectful dialogue, not what that person was doing. But again, we're lucky. I feel proud to be on our side of the aisle. Whenever I see our people on our side of the aisle, I'm always proud of how they act for the most part. And I said this yesterday on the show, but the left makes it really damn easy to be better than them. They do, because it's women like this who are taking their phones out and essentially harassing an elderly woman at her place of work. For what? For clicks on social media? Again, they make it very easy to be the bigger person and the better person. They're disgusting scum. Truly. Disgusting scum. Let's get into scrolling time. Minnesota Somali fraud situation on the show for a while. And this first video, it's just funny. It just shows the liberal lies. So this one woman was asked, if you care about the Somali community, take one in. Watch this.
Terrible.
Why do you think it's terrible?
Because we're a country that's inclusive of all nationalities, all countries, all peoples of the world.
Are you concerned about the 19 countries that he designated?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think we should take them in, right?
Yes. They should be vetted and we should take them in, but to just blanketly say no more is terrible.
Can I ask you, would you sign our petition here to stop Trump's racist immigration ban? How many immigrants could you take into your home from third world countries that he blocked?
I couldn't take any. I live in Wisconsin.
We can send them to Wisconsin for you. We just need your email address. Do you mind if could we ask you your name and your email, and then how many you'd like?
What do you mean to take in?
Just to take them in, because now they're not going to be able to come to the U.S., but you could invite them into your home and take care of them.
I couldn't do that at this time.
Oh,
too old.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm too old, and basically I'm lying. I'm virtue signaling, and that's why I can't take them in, because I don't want to either. This is what the liberals do. They don't want to do anything themselves. They don't want to take in immigrants. They want the government to do it on our dime. That's what it is. They want, free this, free that. Yeah. Free education, free housing, free flights for illegals, free phones for illegals, free food for fat people. Yeah. It all sounds good. It all sounds great. Because they don't want to deal with the consequences. They want to put it on the government, and then they get to vote for these asinine policies and feel good about themselves. They get to pat themselves on the back and say, I'm a good person because I voted Democrat. And Democrats are going to fix all the problems in the form of raising taxes. That's their motto. But here's the truth. So here's another man on the street interview, and this guy was asking people who actually live in this Somali community or near the Somali community in Minnesota what they think. Watch.
I'm a Jew trying to learn a little bit of Somali.
There are square blocks where you cannot function without a translator.
This is Little Mogadishu, Minneapolis.
Being Somali out here for me is like survival, man, every day.
How large is the Somali community here in Minneapolis?
Oh, too much.
They just came here and took over, bro.
Do most people have a job and work here?
No.
No?
Nope. Oh.
Speaking Somali?
Yeah. I think that's just how they talk.
Some of them do not speak English?
Don't speak English at all. Yesterday I tried to ask one of them a question and she didn't speak English.
I got on Duolingo trying to learn a little bit of Somali. People have told me, like, why would you feel like you need to learn another language when you're in America? And it's like, because there's a lot of people who speak a lot of languages in America.
You don't think there are any problems with not being able to read, like, traffic directions?
I do not agree with the simulation. Let them have their own language.
You know, this isn't a thing about race. It's a thing about assimilation, and you have to actually assimilate so you can actually become an American and be a part of our culture. Legal immigration, fine, let's have more of it. Let's just do it properly, and we can actually have a flourishing American culture going forward.
Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. Because we are a melting pot, and you can't tout the fact that we're a melting pot if no one comes here and wants to melt. Then, you know, what is that? That's a stew. It's not a melting pot. It's just a stew. Just saying. Not a melting pot. If no one wants to melt, like, what are we? Then it's just a bunch of different, you know, communities that are separate from each other and no one is united by an American identity anymore. Then what are we? We're a country with no culture and no borders. That's the left's version of the American dream. That's what they want. No borders, no culture, only immigrants. And we've seen how that's played out in Minneapolis. And I don't want that in my neighborhood. And I'm sure a lot of you don't either. All right. I want to move on to number 18 because we cover some, you know, F around, find out videos. This one is a little less political and just funny. But this is a little girl who F's around and finds out on the farm. Watch this. So here she is, this little girl, she's got a shovel or something, and she's taunting a rooster.
Run, Libby, run.
Watch what happens.
You better run.
You taunt the rooster 3 times, and guess what? You find out. You F around and you find out. She learned a valuable lesson that day. Don't taunt roosters, because that's stupid.
Anybody that's ever been on a farm knows that. So
also,
what happened to the parents here?
If you're going to taunt because I think the parents wanted to teach her a lesson. They knew that she was going to get the FO after she FA'd, and they were welcoming that, and I don't blame the parents. Sometimes you got to do a little tough love parenting. You know, gentle parenting doesn't do much these days. You got a tough parent. You got a tough love. And they were showing her, you know, if you poke this rooster, if you poke the bear 3 times, you know, it's not going to go well for you, and you better run, and you better not have jello legs when you run away, because then the rooster's going to get you.
Yeah, she looked like she was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Every time somebody was coming at her, she falls down, gets up, falls down,
This
gets
is
up.
how I run in a dream. Like when I'm in a dream state and I'm running away from the bad guy in my dream or whatever, it's like your legs don't work. You're falling all over the place. Yeah. Well, she found out, so that's an FAFO on the farm. All right, this next one is just very cute. There's a little girl. She is the star of the show at her Christmas church celebration. Watch this. If you're listening and not watching, I'm telling you, you got to go to rumble.com/Hayley and watch this video. This little girl dressed as an angel, and her facial expressions are to die for. She's making everybody crack up in the church. She doesn't even know the words. She's just mouthing as best as she can. Someone in the chat said, perfect angel, precious. And I don't know who's sitting next to her, if that was supposed to be Joseph, but he didn't look so happy. He wasn't thrilled with the angel's antics, but I thought that was very cute. All right. Thank you for scrolling along with me. You can follow me on social media at Hayley Caronia on most platforms, and I'll catch you right back here at rumble.com/Hayley. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you tomorrow.